And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Integrity Racing League Round 5 of the 2021 season here from the Phoenix International Raceway. I'm Jonathan Oates, and joining me tonight in the broadcast booth is Isaac Johnson. Isaac, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. Took a little break off last week for some IRL racing.
Oh, I'm playing the broadcast back. I keep doing that. All right, never mind.
Oh,
No,
okay.
Oh God. Oh God, no. All right, well, we've already messed this up horribly, but I'm joined tonight by Isaac Johnson. We apologize for the little bit of a mishap there, but Isaac, let's try that one again. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. I had a little real-life racing shenanigans thing last week, and unfortunately I missed that broadcast, but I am back here today at Phoenix. Going to be providing some cool in-race information, getting right up close to these drivers as they're racing around this short track, but that's not really a short track. But hey, it's going to be fun.
Well, that is one of the things that I wanted to talk about, is that this is going to be technically our first short track race of the season, depending on what you're going to label as a short track. On one hand, this place, it races like an intermediate in the sense where you really gotta, it's easy-ish to pass, you got high-ish speeds, you can push the track limits quite a bit on the back straightaway, but it also races like a short track in the sense that you really got to get on the brakes, slow the car down, get it to rotate through center. I mean, this place can be a really, really tough track to drive, especially with how flat the corners are. You got to hit your marks lap after lap after lap, and if you miss them too much, you're going to be burning up that right front, that right rear on exit. This track, it's a great mix between a short track and an intermediate, and even though I'm not the best at it, I love the way this place drives. I mean, Isaac, with your experience driving tracks kind of like Phoenix, whether that be on iRacing, I guess, dirt track racing doesn't really carry over from real life experience, but I mean, your experience with this type of tracks, I mean, what have you noticed is going to be key to succeeding here at these types of tracks?
Well, definitely the first thing is going to be keeping your nose clean. Tracks like this where they're so short, everyone's so bunched up, everyone has a pretty level playing field to be pretty competitive. These guys are going to be racing each other hard, long, and fast. The main thing is going to be that last part, fast. You got to stay quick, but you got to make sure you don't push your stuff too hard, or else you'll burn up your tires, spin out in turn 3, or just kind of, be relegated to the rear end of the field. So that's where you're going to see a lot of these strategy calls being played. And also, again, smart moves and good pickoffs right when you need them to be to keep your tires clean and also advance your track position.
Yeah, I mean, being smart and being patient and just waiting for the right opportunity to make a move is going to be hugely important here at Phoenix. There aren't a lot of really good passing opportunities because of that, because of the way that highline can fight back. In turns 3 and 4, it's crucial to keep the momentum up, and if you can get that highline working, it's going to be difficult to pass. And it's even possible to get to the outside of someone if you're confident enough under braking and under acceleration. So I think that setting up the pass and looking for opportunities to take advantage of either other people's mistakes or your own pace, it's going to be hugely important to succeeding here. But in the end, if a pass goes wrong, it could end up with several cars towards the outside wall, especially in turn 3 and 4 where there isn't a lot of grip on entry. You really got to fight to keep the car under you, and if you're not careful, it could result in some contact. The driver's meeting is over, so we're going to be going trackside to get this race started. 156 laps, that's the exact same length as a NASCAR iRacing Series race around this track, only this time we are in the Xfinity Series cars. The field beginning to grid up now for Race 5 of the Integrity Racing League 2021 season. 4 races down so far. We've seen a lot of different drivers up at the front of the field, but in terms of the point standings, right now your points leader is the number 26 car of Ethan Lane, tied with Brad Patton, both at 145 points. Patton, one of the more aggressive drivers in the field. Ethan Lane, one of the more wildcard drivers. Not really consistently up at the front, but when he is up at the front, he is always giving us a good show. Nick Terbuck, very consistently running in that top 10, currently in 3rd, only 2 points back of your race leaders. A good show for him tonight. Could get him up into that top 2. Jacob Fife currently in 4th, Cody Smith currently in 5th. But I think it's going to be a big battle between those top 3, Ethan Lane, Brad Patton, and Nick Terbuck. Isaac, from your experience seeing those guys race throughout the season, who do you think is going to be a strong driver tonight at Phoenix to watch out for?
Well, funny you mentioned that aggression from your boy Patton, my pick always. But yeah, Phoenix is one of those tracks where it's going to definitely benefit the more aggressive moves, judging by the shorter lengths of I almost called them super speed straights, the straightaways here, but also just all-around talent. Ethan Lane's also going to be a pick of mine, considering he's on pole, and leader will have control on this start. Wait, what? Okay, well, race control is being weird again. But, yeah, this is, again, going to be one of those tracks that's going to benefit raw talent and raw aggression. So we're going to have a really good battle up here between Brad Patton and Ethan Lane, in my opinion.
And being aggressive is going to be hugely important. Getting those moves, I mean, as much as you have to take the time to set up a pass properly, with how hard it is to pass, sometimes you just got to send it in there and hope the car sticks. Also, that back straightaway, that massive dogleg on the inside of the racetrack, it's inbounds, it's in play. It's going to be hugely beneficial to either holding guys off or making those passes. Here we come onto the start-finish line. The green flag is out. We are racing in the desert. 156 miles ahead of these drivers. We are racing. Down to turn one, Ethan Lane with the jump. Trombley to the outside. They're stacked up 2 by 2. Headed through turn number 1. Wetmore on the inside, gaining on Lane. Down the back straightaway for the first time tonight. Diving down to the dog leg. Tom Wetmore all the way towards that inside wall. Patton trying to shoot the middle. 3 wide, 2 by 2. Going into turn number 3. They're fanning out behind. Wetmore up the track. Lane around the outside. Going to try and keep the lead. Patton hanging back in third. They're 2 by 2 by 2. Down the front straightaway once again. Ethan Lane going to lead lap 1. Wetmore back in line. Patton crossing him over. Back to turn 1. Trombley going sideways into turn 1. Contact with McCoy. They're 3 wide. Daffin through the middle. Staying green through lap 1.
The outside line on that start had a very bad accordion effect about halfway through the field there, or halfway through the line, sorry, about 6th on back. About wrecked it right after the line. I don't remember who that was. However, it was very gnarly indeed. Pretty big damage on, I believe it was the 19 car's front bumper, and I can't remember who they got into.
And looking back at the driver of the 19, currently in 31st, all the way at the back of the field. A little bit of damage on that front end, like you said. Might have been someone else, but back towards turns 3 and 4, it's Ethan Lane hooking the bottom. Leading away in Phoenix, Wetmore still in second, Patton to third, green so far. Off turn 4 to the line, it's going to be Ethan Lane leading once again, side by side behind Todd Thomas. Working the inside of Eric Crow, diving down towards turn number 1. Crow on the high side, trying to fight back, but Thomas going to get around the inside lane. They are side by side, going down the back straightaway. Anyone going to dive it down? Thomas. Couple of lanes below that yellow line, going to turn number 3 on the inside. Crow still hanging strong on the outside. That's one of the things we mentioned in the pre-race show, that drivers are really able to hang in around the outside if they're brave enough. Take a look at this. Eric Crow going to get the run off turn number 4 and back to the line. Going to try and clear Thomas going into turn number 1. Isaac, back to you.
Yeah, these guys are just staying pretty consistent. Again, they're giving each other room here, as it is really just the start of the race here. I believe that's Todd Thomas cutting the back straightaway, the little D-ring there. It's a very unique feature of Phoenix about how flat and how low these guys are running. That is the reciprocant of that contact on the front straightaway right after the start, as you could look at Todd Thomas's rear bumper there on the 78 car. Very badly damaged indeed. It was the 79 car, sorry, who got into him. Further back there, too, you could see the damage on him. That's who made that contact on the start. There is, I believe that was the 98 car making a roove on, yeah, it was.
I believe that might have been Banfield on Crow going through 3 and 4. Those two remaining side by side, currently on board with Jody Banfield. Back to the start-finish line. Eric Crow trying to fight back on the outside. This battle for 12th. Banfield going to dive it down through 1 and 2 and take that spot away. Now Crow under fire from Froelich back at the front of the field. Ethan Lane starting to pull away over Wetmore and Patton, currently lining up 2nd and 3rd. Patton driving it in on that yellow line, trying to hook the bottom and roll it through turns 3 and 4. Wetmore sliding up the track just a little bit. Patton on his bumper. For the most part, that battle staying stagnant, looking towards the midfield where most of the action is at the moment. Take a look at this. Thomas and Banfield side by side. Banfield making some moves on the outside line, being very aggressive early on, but you see that advantage. That outside line gets off turn 2. Banfield storms around the outside of Thomas and takes that 11th spot. Battle behind for 12th between Crow and Thomas going to turn 3.
Caitlin Hyatt running her standard, very quiet yet very consistent and just all-around well-rounded race so far here in the 10th position.
Yeah, Caitlin Haidt had a lot of good runs earlier on in the season, continuing to put together some strong runs. Not really in the conversation last weekend at Las Vegas, but I think these tracks, so you really got to get on the brakes quite a bit. They're really going to benefit her. We saw how good she was at the Daytona Road Course, making that comeback all the way from the back of the field up to around 7th. Right now, she is running inside the top 10. One car loose off, too. That might have been Michael Dewell. You saw him getting sideways up against that outside wall, but 10 laps complete right now. We've gone green so far. For the most part, everyone's starting to get single file out, but a battle for 15th. Colton lands on the inside of Todd Thomas. Colton making one of his first starts in the series. Now Chris Ryan trying to follow him through on the inside lane. Ryan going to get to the inside of Thomas. That battle right now for 15th as they round turns 3 and 4.
Further up front, Brad Patton is again working on Tom Wetmore going into turn 1 here. Wetmore up the track. Patton slips in underneath them off of turn 2 there. We'll take P2 coming off turn 2.
Yeah, it's right about now where we're going to see who's really gone way too aggressive early on. Is going to start going back towards the back of the field. This track wears tires quite a bit, but surprisingly it only wears those right side tires. The left sides remain relatively untouched throughout the course of a run, so taking 2 tires might not be a bad call for these drivers. They've got 3 sets of tires in the pits, 4 in total. Rounding 1 and 2, Lane continuing to get away at the front of the field. Battle right now going on for 4th position. That's Alec Daffin. I believe he was the pole sitter last weekend at Las Vegas, or last week at Las Vegas. Right now holding out of that spot over Cody Smith and Brent McCoy as they round turns 3 and 4. You see Daffin looking up the track for just a little bit more grip on exit. A couple of cars getting close to that outside wall off turn 4, getting very close indeed, one of the tighter corners on the racetrack. Smith driving it in on Daffin, trying to get to his bumper. Daffin driving away on exit. McCoy now might be getting closer to the bumper of Smith. Justin Trombley, one of the best cars on the long run as well, trying to reel that group in from 7th.
Grip's going to be the name of the game today, as it is currently 102 degrees Fahrenheit here on track. This is in Phoenix, Arizona, in the middle of the desert, so track temperature is going to be very high indeed. It's going to burn these tires to ashes after a very long run here, so it's going to be very, very intense job on the driver's hand to keep those tires nice and cool, clean, and of course not burnt to shreds.
Yeah, trying to find grip around this track is going to be huge for these guys. You see Trombley driving it in quite a bit deeper than everyone else, just kind of arcing it up the track and getting back down to the bottom. There's a couple of different lines you can run there in turns 3 and 4. You just don't want to be too wide on exit, or else you will find yourself a victim of hitting that outside wall. Back towards turn number 1, you see Alec Daffin really arcing it into the corners, working on that exit, but that does leave the bottom line quite vulnerable on entry. Down the back straightaway, there's Brent McCoy on the inside of Cody Smith, headed to turns 3 and 4. Smith going to hold on the high side.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to... Oh, never mind. He gained a lot of time center on him. They're going to be a drag race going down into turn 1 here. However, I don't think McCoy's got enough to complete the move. Oh, back down on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, you see these guys getting really loose on exit. McCoy down the inside, still trying to make that pass work. He's got a nice runoff, too. Diving down the dogleg, down the back straightaway, and headed for turn 3. McCoy going to try and clear him on entry, maybe slide up the track. Smith fights back on the high side through center. McCoy trying to roll it through exit, side by side off turn number 4 once again. Down the front straightaway. Smith fighting back there door to door once again. McCoy down the inside, trying to lock it onto that yellow line. Up the track goes Smith once again, trying to get that run off turn 2. They've been dead even for the past few laps now. McCoy all the way down the dogleg. Isaac, back to you as they're side by side for 6th.
Trombley wants to see this. These guys racing each other hard, running the offline, burning up that rubber even more. It's just going to play into his hands that much more here, as he's going to have way fresher tires, and going to be all around way quicker and much more consistent than these guys, and not have to deal with the grip loss that these guys have.
And you heard it right there. Cody Smith getting it down into 3rd gear, trying to get the car rotated through center. That's going to be a tactic we're going to see quite a bit throughout the night. Listen on board as they work through turns 3 and 4. Not shifting quite yet, but we're going to see it more throughout the night. You really got to get that car rotated, and with how slow these corners are in comparison to the straightaways, shifting, not always a terrible idea. Off turn 2, one car getting close to the wall. That's Michael Dewell. Gonna fall back just a little bit to Guillermo Alvarez. We saw him at Homestead be one of the more aggressive drivers in the field. Currently right now riding inside the top 10, but just barely in P9. Back up to the battle for 5th. Justin Trombley trying to pull off 4 on Brent McCoy on board with the 34 car. And you can see he can just hook that yellow line so much better than McCoy can. McCoy actually sliding up the track on exit, getting a little bit loose, using that looseness to get down to the dogleg. Coming to lap 21 of 156. Trombley still trying to get around McCoy, who is trying to get around Daffin. Battle also on track for the 12th position. Colton Lanes right now on the inside of Caitlin Height. Height fighting back on the outside line. Lanes down the inside. Going to clear Height off 2. Now Chris Ryan looking to take advantage up the inside of that 00 machine. Down the back straightaway, headed for turn number 3. Ryan in that 80 car. Going to drive it into turn number 3. Try and clear Height. Height fights back just for now, but Wright going to clear her on the inside. Up into 13th is that number 80 car of Chris Ryan. Height's tires maybe starting to fall off just a little bit. Back up towards the front of the field. The main battle on track still for 4th between Brent McCoy and Alec Daffin. McCoy driving it down the racetrack, going into turns number 3 and 4.
Daffin's going to try and defend and stay on his outside here, burn up his tires even more. As you see there, he just grabbed the apron a little bit, lost a lot center there, but he's going to pick that all back up on corner exit off 4 down the front straightaway here. But Daffin's going to have the larger run going down into turn 1.
Yeah, that high line just works wonders on the exit of turn 3 and 4, and even 1 and 2 to an extent. This track is surprisingly multi-groove for the current state of iRacing. At least at this track, they've made a lot of improvements in other areas, which we'll see next week, next Monday at Atlanta. But for now at Phoenix, you can really make that high line work. Even if you're just trying to pass, you can make that high line work if that inside line is being covered off. Back to side-by-side for 5th. Daffin on the outside of Trombley. Trombley trying to take advantage. Cody Smith trying to take advantage of both those drivers going side-by-side. All going to file back down a single file, and here comes Trombley to the inside. Contact between Trombley and Smith. They keep it straight, though. Back down the back straightaway.
Daffin got into McCoy there a little bit too, going into turn 1. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. Just a little love tap there, but yeah, it seems like Daffin can roll 3 a lot better than McCoy can, but however, McCoy gets all of his gains on corner exit of 4. So you see Trombley here sticking his nose in there, testing the waters, and he's going to lunge it down in here into turn 1. Not much of a fight being put up here. Never mind, he's going to try and roll his outside here, as Daffin's going to come off turn 2, get squeezed through the wall. All good. Trombley's running down on the apron, going down into turn 3 here. Clear, all clear, and he's going to drive away and try and chase down McCoy.
Trombley able to roll the bottom a lot better than a lot of the guys in this field. One car maybe in the wall. That's Michael Dewell behind. He might just be rolling the top right there. Looks like he got quite a bit of speed on exit. So we're starting to see a couple of different lines come into play here as these tires wear. Currently working lap 26. Stage ends at lap 40, no yellow. Back to Justin Trombley in the battle for 5th. Brent McCoy scooting away in 4th. Alec Daffin, currently P6 on track, trying to hold off Cody Smith. Looking behind Michael Dewell. Look how high he is on the racetrack, running the middle line in 3 and 4.
I like it.
Yeah, it's going to be the optimal line as these tires start to wear. Always exciting to see these guys look around for grip as we see Jody Banfield struggling for grip off turn 4. Getting just a little bit sideways, maybe driving it in a little bit too deep. Eric Crow able to roll the bottom on through 1 and 2. Looking around the track for any battles that we might have. We might have one for 16th. Tara Buck right now on the inside of Neil Froelich. Sorry, Todd Thomas. Side by side into 3 and 4. Thomas going to try and hold the high side. Froelich down the inside. Sorry, that's Tara Buck down the inside. Thomas going to try and fight back on exit. Bit of a crossover. Tarabuck covering off the inside. Down the front straightaway. Zotner gets into the outside wall. Tarabuck up into 16th. Back up to that battle for 4th.
I'm hearing contact, but I don't know where it is. And I'm hoping it's just netcode, because I really like this racing right now.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of green flag racing, and I think the front of the field might be starting to catch lap traffic. Ethan Lane right now on his own. You see Brad Patton there putting that 83 of Jim Fife a lap down. Sorry, 63 of Jim Fife a lap down. So everyone's starting to catch traffic, and at the moment, Brent McCoy maybe making inroads on Tom Wetmore here up in P6, although the lap traffic might have something to do with that. Take a look at this. Cody Smith running up high through 3 and 4.
He had a peek on him coming off turn 2 through the D, but he couldn't quite make the move stick there coming off turn 4.
Into turns 1 and 2, Daffin running a little higher, Smith getting it down to the bottom. Lots of different lines to be used here at Phoenix. No matter what line you're using, though, you still really got to hit your marks. Make sure that you're being consistent lap after lap after lap. Cody Smith's going to try and roll it in on Daffin once again. He's going to try the low lane this time. Daffin up the track. Here comes Smith, trying to roll it down low.
He had a really good exit there.
Yeah, Smith just trying to work on Daffin. Justin Trombley now getting closer and closer to Brent McCoy. McCoy might be getting closer to Wetmore. We haven't monitored that gap too much.
Trombley making the move.
Here he goes down the inside. Trombley, one of the fastest drivers on the long runs, is clear up into up in a 4th. So a great move by Trombley to get him up inside that top 4. Now he can set his sights on Tom Wetmore up in P3. You can hear how much these guys have to get out of the throttle through 1 and 2. That lap car, Jim Fife, going to stack the field up off 2. It's going to give McCoy a shot back to the 34. Going into turn 3, though, Trombley keeps them clear. Daffin and Smith running way up high on entry. Take a look at that. Daffin running that 3rd groove, trying to get the exit right. So these guys looking around for grip as the tires fall off. Side by side for 10th between Banfield and Crow. Isaac, back to you. 3 wide, actually.
Whoa. And they sorted it out as Eric Crow blinked out. All right, we're back here. He's going to be hanging on the outside coming off turn 2, going through the D here. Everyone else is going to run lower. He's going to try and dip his little left sides just underneath that double yellow line there to save some time going into turn 3. He's going to park it on the 49 car's right rear quarter panel here and try and roll it off the corner. Now he's coming under fire from, that is Chris Ryan coming off turn 4.
Ryan got the wall. Yeah, Ryan got really sideways off turn 4. The lap car stacking things up through 1 and 2 once again. Jim Fife free-falling down the order. We almost went 3 wide once again. Back down the inside goes lanes on Banfield. Banfield going to cross him over all the way down the dogleg. Headed right for that inside wall. Fife still stacking him up in a 3. Ryan had to take avoiding action out of the way of that 63 machine. They're all rolling 3 and 4, and take a look at this. Trombley in that 4th position is starting to reel in Wetmore, one of the fastest cars on the long runs, showing his ability here at Phoenix.
Justin is chasing down Tom Wetmore now, going into turn 3. I hear more contact back there. I hope it... starting to confuse me a bit here.
One thing we might want to keep an eye out on is the fact that Justin Trombley right now is the fastest car on the racetrack by about 3/100ths of a by about 3. Let me try that one again. Trombley right now the fastest on track by about 8/100ths of a second last time by, although the time before that it was a few tenths. Down into 3, Trombley having to get out of the way of that lap car. We're seeing lap traffic start to play a factor in this race. Meanwhile, everyone kind of stacking up behind Brent McCoy there for that 5th position, final spot inside the top 5. Starting to wind down the laps on this stage, currently working lap 37 of 38 in the stage. Last time by, once again, Trombley, that time the 2nd fastest out of the top 5.
News from the pit road here. Brad Fulham is disconnected in the 19 car. He was running, I believe, yeah, 31st. Not a good run for him tonight. I guess he decided to park it there. He didn't want to cause something. I think I heard him say over the radio, although I might have been hearing wrong. But sad to see him park it for the night, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's going to be our first retirement of the night. And now Justin Trombley has gotten all the way up to the bumper of that 51 machine. Tom Wetmore in his sights. Once again, Trombley the fastest on track last time by about a 10th. We've seen how fast he can be on the long runs, and without any stage cautions mixing this up, I think Trombley might be a good pick for the win as he storms his way through the field. A great run off turn 4 for Trombley.
Well, as soon as I talked about the first retirement, now we have the 2nd retirement. Charles M. Johnson also disconnected from the race. I do not believe I know what happened to him, but I might have overheard something. I will investigate that.
And that's going to be unfortunate for Johnson. But this battle for third heating up. Trombley has stormed his way through the field, not looking to stop now. He is all over the bumper of Wetmore. And take a look at this through 1 and 2. He's just going to be able to roll the bottom so much better than Wetmore can. Stage coming to a close. It is going to be Ethan Lane walking away with this one. He has been quiet and consistent out front. Nothing has stopped Ethan Lane throughout this race so far. The battle for third continuing, though. That's going to be stage points as well. Keep in mind, Trombley might want to get it done here in a 3 and 4. Is he going to try the outside? No, he's going to ride in line. Head through turns 3 and 4. Is he going to send him for the stage point? Looks like he's just going to ride in line, but stage 1 winner going to be Ethan Lane, working lap 41 now. Down the front straightaway, Trombley on the bumper of Wetmore. I'm guessing we're getting closer to our first cycle of green flag pit stops. We have gone clean and green so far. Lots of respect being shown in this league. Isaac, over to you.
I'm gonna go check what we're looking at for pit strategy here. I'm gonna roll out on track and test.
Sounds good. Battle for third continuing. Tom Wetmore still holding that spot over Justin Trombley. Trombley with the runoff 4. Kind of stagnant right now. This is going to hold Trombley up. If he hopes to get to the front, he's going to have to get a move on here. He's able to get right down to that bottom line. He's going to have a great runoff turn 2. This might be it. Down the back straightaway. Oh, car in the wall. Tom Wetmore gets in the wall off turn number 2. Going to pave the way for Trombley to take that third spot. Up at a third goes Trombley, Wetmore down to 4th, and McCoy now going to gain on Wetmore. This battle for 5th has been continuing for the past couple of laps now. Ethan Lane, though, has spent these first 42 laps out front in clean air. Just been rolling that 26 machine around this racetrack. No one really posing a threat to him so far, but Trombley is charging. We'll see what his lap times are going to be this time by. Might have been a little bit too aggressive on his tires, trying to get that thing around Wetmore. So I think at this point we're gonna have to settle in for the long run. Ethan Lane and Justin Trombley appear to be the fastest 2 cars at the moment. Last time by, Lane was the fastest car on track, so Trombley's advantage might be starting to fall off here. Because keep in mind, Ethan Lane has just been able to chill at the front of the field. Trombley has had to actively work his way through. Brad Patton in second, Trombley in third. Your top 3 separated by just over 5 seconds.
So update on the fuel situation here. I'm just doing a couple laps here. I'm not even doing that well. I'm probably consuming a lot more fuel than these guys are. We're going to be looking at around 75, 80-ish laps on fuel here. So this is going to be a quite long-winded battle here. So it'll be interesting to see if someone tries to stretch it to the stage caution, or not the caution, sorry, just the end of stage 2, which is on lap 80.
Well,
which I believe the fuel run might be able to make.
I'm guessing they're going to have to, because at the moment the situation we're looking at is that you could either take it to lap 75 and get around 150 laps in and risk being 6 short, or you could get to lap 80 and be about 4 to the good. So fuel mileage, given that we don't get a caution, might play a factor here. And by the way, last time by, Trombley, the fastest on track by about 0.3 of a second over Ethan Lane. So everyone right now just kind of rolling into formation, trying to get to those pit stops. They're about 20, 30 laps out in the distance. Looking throughout the field, the main action on track still around that 4th place spot as Wetmore is falling down the order. Brett McCoy still leading that 3-car train round turns 1 and 2. Getting closer to that 1/3 of the way through mark. And this battle for 4th starting to develop as McCoy is gaining. Guillermo Alvarez also running faster than this pack in front of him by about 0.5 to 1/10 of a second. So Alvarez, one of the better long-run cars in the field as well. Meanwhile, Brad Patton starting to reel in Ethan Lane for the lead as Ethan has caught lap traffic. So at the moment, a lot of the action on track just starting to settle down. Everyone kind of getting into a groove. Everyone trying to get to that pit stop, trying to work out their strategies. I'm guessing that if they have a crew chief, they're going to want to try and get that sorted now. Just kind of have some conversations about where they want to go with this fuel run. I'm guessing no one's going to do the 2-stop strategy, although in theory you could. There's enough tires to for sure. Just depends on how much fuel these guys are consuming. Battle on track for 23rd between Alan Rowell and Lee Pierce. That might come into play if Ethan Lane from the lead catches up to him. Right now, they are some of the last cars on this lead lap. So Ethan Lane, that might end up being a battle for the lucky dog spot. Justin Trombley once again fastest on track by about 0.2 of a second. Isaac, any updates on strategy or anything over the radio?
Nothing here yet, but I am sitting behind the main battle up front here. It's a 4-car battle for, I believe that is 5th place. It's actually quite gnarly getting up close to these guys. They're racing very hard and very close right there, as you see contact made coming off, or the center of 3 and 4 there between Daffin and I believe that was McCoy. Ooh, yeah, chops with nose going into 1-2. These guys are racing each other with absolute. Oh,
contact 1 and 2. Daffin got hit up the rear end by Cody Smith, sent him a little bit sideways. They all kept it straight. It's going to string out the battle a little bit. Brent McCoy still looking to be one of the slower drivers in this pack. Now they're all gaining on Tom Wetmore. Daffin just got hit up the rear end by Smith. Smith has front end damage. That's just going to be the factor of everyone bottlenecking up into turn number 1. We got the tail end of that battle there. And
98 car to the pits this time by.
Okay, we got some of our 2-stop takers.
Alan Rowell.
No, that's going to be Jody Banfield coming into that 98 machine.
Eric Crow. Kevin Matz.
So, they're all staying out on track at the moment.
Well, no, they just called it in, like they're not actually going in yet.
So a couple of drivers aiming for that 2-stop. And at the front of the field, and guess what, Isaac? Ethan Lane has brought it into the pits from your race lead. So Ethan Lane going to go for 4 tires and fuel down and away, but at the front of the field, Justin Trombley takes over the lead, and now is when we're going to see these strategies develop, because either Trombley needs to react now to the undercut, or he needs to try and stretch it to lap 80. I think if you can stretch it to 80, then you're going to be good to the end. However, that all depends on being able to stretch it. We'll see what the majority goes with, and I think for the most part, everyone going to take that 3-stop strategy as they all dive in around that 1/3 mark of the race. But it is going to be Ethan Lane, your leader into the pit lane. Now he's just got to hope a caution doesn't come out to trap him 1 lap down. He is right now scored in the 15th position, and Brad Patton has actually jumped him in the pits. So Brad Patton going to assume the race lead. He has just unlapped himself over Justin Trombley. And Isaac, your thoughts on these strategies playing out, as it looks like your race leader Trombley is going to stretch it to that halfway mark.
Well, whatever happens now is going to set up for the end of this race here. Is if you stay out, you know you're going to pit and probably have better tires than the rest of the field coming to the final run. But however, will it be enough of a advantage to warrant losing those laps, losing that time on the older set of tires? That will decide this race's finish.
Well, we're going to see, because Brad Patton's gap to your race leader right now will be determined at the line. Trombley still staying out on track. So right now, Patton's gap to the leader around 27 seconds. So he would have to make up around a second a lap to get himself back into the race lead, which isn't entirely impossible. He ran about a second quicker last time by. So I'm not sure if that time loss is entirely going to be worth it. But now we've got 2 different races going on. We've got the 1-stoppers in Justin Trombley and Tom Wetmore. They're not in a battle at all. They're in a race of their own, especially Trombley, who is cruising at the front of the field in that all-black number 34. And then we add the battle between the 2-stoppers, which is going to be Patton and Lane. And these two now are going to have a proper battle for the lead, as Lane got a much slower pit stop than Patton and let Patton leapfrog him in the pit lane. So Brad Patton going to assume the race lead this time by. A couple of drivers still out on their tires, but for the most part they are irrelevant to the result of the race.
Just to give an idea of how fast Justin Trombley really is, I'm on fresh tires and I'm having a hard time catching him. So I can only imagine what these guys are facing with the older clapped out tires, trying to stay with the fastest car on track right now to see what that would actually imply towards the end of this race when everyone's on an even playing field again and he's up front to deal with these guys. I think that race will be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about Justin Trombley is that he's just so quiet, so methodical in these races. He's just kept the tires on that number 34 car. Hasn't really had a very dramatic race, just quietly been working his way through the field. However, the amount of time that he's losing to Brad Patton might not be worth staying out. It was about 1.3 seconds last time by. So it's looking like Trombley It's going to be an interesting trade-off, because keep in mind that even if Patton gets around Trombley, he is going to have to come in again at around lap 100, because they're not going to be able to make it 100 laps on fuel. So this is where that balance starts to come into play. And also keep in mind that Patton and Lane both have to work their way around slower lap traffic. Everyone Trombley is facing on track right now is much faster than him because of the tires. So it is a lot easier for him to just continue running his race. And of course, this could all be shaken up by a caution, which would warrant a massive loss in track position for Ethan Lane and Brad Patton. You see Trombley there just rolling that yellow line really slow through 3 and 4. Almost makes it look like he's going to come into the pit lane. But he's just staying out there, staying methodical at the front of the field, with right now a 4-second lead over second place Tom Wetmore. But in terms of the strategy battle, it could not be closer. There is, however, one battle on track, which will be for the race lead once they catch back up to Trombley. That between Ethan Lane and Brad Patton. Lane, the fastest car in that opening part of the race, currently reeling Patton in. Isaac, your thoughts on this battle for 10th, which will be for the lead?
It's going to be very interesting to see how these guys react later on to when the second round of pit stops come, and how they will try and see if they've learned anything from this first round to try and play that out. But I have a feeling that this battle right here is probably just a scrap for bragging rights right now. We won't really know who will be in the better position until the second round of pit stops for sure, but right now this is going to be a very interesting fight.
And they're coming up with the slow car of Kimball. Contact between Patton and Lane. Patton gets a little bit of a boost through 1 and 2. He's going to have a narrow exit off turn 2, though. This battle coming to blows. Here comes Ethan Lane trying to get around Nick Zotner going into turns 3 and 4. We've gone green. 63 laps running now. Very much in contrast to the real-life Xfinity Series race, which took here Saturday night, or I guess Saturday evening. Getting close off 2 between Lane and Heischman. Lane had to get out of the throttle. Contact! Heischman slides! Is he going to save it?
Oh.
Great save by Heischman to keep it rolling. A little bit of net code between those two, but we stay green here at Phoenix. Brad Patton now just going to have a little bit of a bigger lead, but they've got to work their way around the slower traffic a little bit more careful than Lane tried to, because in the end, a caution is not going to benefit these guys. They want it to stay green to the end. On board with Ethan Lane, working his way down the inside of Todd Thomas. Still trying to gain on Ethan Lane. Brad Patton. The gap between the leaders on the 2-stop and the 1-stop strategy is 16 seconds now. So they're making up still about just under a second a lap. I think they're going to get back around him, but it's going to be close by the time we get to the next cycle of pit stops.
I'm going to be rolling back here towards this battle right here between Brad Patton and Ethan Lane here, so I can try and get a very good vantage point. There we go.
And I think right now a lot of these guys just still, like I said, trying to get to that second cycle of pit stops, but we saw Ethan Lane getting very aggressive with the lap car there. He's getting very close to the bumper of Patton as well through 3 and 4. We already saw a little bit of contact with them. Going to turns 1 and 2, working lap 66 of 156 tonight at Phoenix. All just rolling that bottom lane, trying to just run their own races here. Trombley still with a 14-second lead over Ethan Lane, but that gap is coming down quite quickly. Lane going a little bit higher here in 3 and 4, going to try and diamond the exit off turn 4 right down to that yellow line. Lane with a big run off turn 4, but these guys have to be careful not to fight each other too much, because they got to think big picture here. They still contact again between Lane and Patton. Just not enough to get him out of the groove. If anything, it's helping Patton along. Down the back straightaway on board with Lane again. He's getting very aggressive behind that back bumper of that one car, Brad Patton. Patton maybe just trying to keep the tires on her for later in the run. All just rolling that yellow line off turn 4. Coming to lap 68 of 156. Trombley into turn 3. While Ethan Lane and Brad Patton still just going through 1 and 2.
Man, Lane gets really close to that wall off turn 2 exit there. That just goes to show. Oh! Brad Patton got into the wall going into turn 3.
Sparks flying as they head down to turn number 3. These guys just trying to push the limits, trying to reel in that race leader. And take a look at this. Ethan Lane is just so much faster than Patton, but he just can't seem to find a way around him. The gap between first and fifth, the leaders with the strategies, right now is at 12.7 seconds. So right where you see Ethan Lane there, right where you see Lane and Patton, that right there, the little number next to them, is the gap between them and your race leader. Working lap 70 of 156.
Ethan Lane has a considerable amount of damage to the rear bumper of his car, but thankfully this is Phoenix. It's not really a very aerodynamic dependent track here, so it's not going to hurt him that much. However, it will be there and present for whenever we do go into pit stops. It may...
Lane up the track! Almost gotten the wall off too!
Ooh.
Down to turn 3 now. Ethan Lane trying to work that top line, trying to get a good run on exit. This is what I mean by the different grooves you can use around here. He's going to have a nice run here coming onto the start-finish line. Still going to try and look down the inside. Are we going to see any more contact between 5th and 6th? Still, I think these guys got to think big picture here. They can't be too aggressive and burn up their tires now because they've still got a long way to go to Justin Trombley, and they have stopped making up those giant gaps. Trombley's lap times actually starting to come down. Bit of contact through 3 and 4, but that time by they only made up 4/10 on your race leader. And if Trombley keeps the lead through this first cycle of pit stops, I think that's the race won right there.
Ethan Lane is just so much quicker than Brad Patton. However, Brad Patton's doing an excellent job defending him, so he can't really take much advantage of his speed. He's just kind of just sat there waiting to use it.
Yeah, passing at a track like Phoenix is just hugely difficult. You really got to set it up. There isn't... The way that these turns are set up, you're kind of braking even once you get into the corner, so you can't really dive bomb anyone without really setting it in on the bottom, and you can just get the grip so far wrong that you end up wrecking a guy. So you got to be careful when it comes to that sort of stuff. You see Ethan Lane still arcing it off turn 2, getting really close to that outside wall, but I have a feeling he might have just burnt his stuff up. Now those 3 cars are going to go up to the battle for third as Patton continues charging his way through the field. Guillermo Alvarez hopping up high out of the way of Patton. That might compromise his exit just a little bit, but Ethan Lane going to lose that time back on entry, getting really close to the 83 car. Working lap 74 of 156 and getting closer to the halfway mark. Lane up the track again, still trying to get that run on Patton. He's making another run at him. 10.6 seconds between the strategy leaders, and I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be able to get around your race leader. And Ethan Lane now dropping it into third gear, trying to get that runoff exit. Hasn't been working out for him, though. You got to be careful with that because you don't want to burn up your rear tires. See how low Lane is going on the dogleg, trying to get all the advantage he can. Getting it down into turn number 3 and 4. Lane and Patton racing for position. But still, they got to think big picture. They're taking about another second out of the lead of your race leader, Justin Trombley. Working 76. I think what Lane has to do right now, he's got to focus a little bit more on his exits. He's a little bit too focused on his entries to try and set up a pass. Isaac, your thoughts on trying to get around that one car right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, even when I'm ghosting through cars, it is very difficult. But, yeah, it's really just going to be a battle of endurance at this point. It's just going to be how long can Brad keep Ethan behind him, and how patient is Ethan to sit behind him? How content is he to sit there and just wait? But I can tell you right now by the body language these drivers are giving off to me right now, they are nowhere near being done.
Yeah, I mean, Brad Patton right now, he's taking about another second out of your race leader's lead. So it seems like now he's on a little bit... He's kind of taking a second out every 1.5 laps. So at the line, the gap between fourth and the leader, or sorry, the gap between third and the leader, gonna be just about 8.8 seconds. So we'll see what it is next time by. Lane working underneath Wetmore. Wetmore, one of the cleanest cars in the field. Patton diving it down through the dogleg, side by side for third, headed to 3. Wetmore up the track. Lane sending it in. Slide job on that 51 car, getting up the track. Wetmore going to try and fight back on the inside. And Patton at the line, gonna be just about 8.5 seconds back. So he's taking about half a second out of his lead every lap. Quite a bit down from the 1 second we were seeing earlier, although to be fair, Patton did have to deal with lap traffic that time by.
I believe I just heard 42 pitting this time by.
And I think Kevin Winker, one of the drivers who was trying to stay out to that halfway mark, which, by the way, we are pretty much at. Justin Trombley down into the pit lane. It's going to hand Brad Patton the lead. But I'm not entirely sure that that's going to be a good thing, because the way that Patton is situated right now, he is going to have to come into the pit lane. So it's going to be a battle to the end of the race here. And I think after this cycle of pit stops, which are going to come in about 20 laps, that's going to be Brad Patton's final move. So at that point, you can't really play around with your strategy anymore. At this point, Brad and Ethan Lane have both made their beds. They've got to lay in them now. The difference is, do you want to come in now, stretch it to the end of the race on the same tires as Trombley, or do you want to stay out longer, lose the track position because of the undercut, but have fresher tires to the end?
I think having fresher tires at the end is going to be more important, and I do expect the possibility of a late race caution, and I think that when that comes out, or if that comes out, that'll be the deciding factor of which strategy is better.
Yeah, we've gone green so far. Pretty uncommon for a short track like Phoenix, or short-ish track like Phoenix. Another thing to consider, Ethan Lane and Patton both had different options here, because if they decided to, one of them could bring it into the pit lane now, short pit, and try and be on the same strategy as Trombley and try and run him down on pace, or one of them could try and stay out and commit to their original strategy and try and beat him through the pit box. So I think at this point you can kind of break your strategy into two different sub-strategies. But if I'm thinking at this point that I want to commit to the end, see how this strategy plays out. But at the same time, you're never going to know what's going to work out until that checkered flag flies. This battle, by the way, for the race lead, heating up once again. We'll see if Lane tries to cut underneath Patton this time by. Looking 3 wide, going into turn number 3. Lane sticking behind, maybe a little bit of contact there. Going into turns 3 and 4. Patton covering off the bottom. Lane looking to cross him over, coming to lap 84 of 156. Battle for the lead continuing. Trombley out on track, still on that lead lap. So he hasn't lost too much track position. Patton still getting a rear bumper full of Ethan Lane. Coming around to lap 85 with your race leader still battling it out.
Oh, Lane's gotten tight.
Yeah, but I think that might have been him going up the track trying to line up a run on exit. He's got a nice run down the start-finish line, working lap 85 here at Phoenix. Down to turn 1, Lane getting to the bumper. Trying to drive it back to that yellow line. Lane just getting so high on exit of 2. Down the front straightaway, back to turn number 1. Patton diving it in on that 17 car of Froelich. That's going to be the top. That's going to be everyone 12th on back, a lap down. So a considerable amount of cars now 1 lap down here at Phoenix. Next cycle of pit stops is going to be coming up in about 15 laps. Unless any of these drivers decide to react to Trombley, and I think Lane got in the wall there off too.
He did.
But at this point, I don't think anyone's going to try and react to Trombley. Isaac, what were you going to say there?
Ethan is really struggling. I think I can hear his throttle inputs. They're more reactive than proactive, as you heard earlier. He was super smooth in and out. Wasn't really having to deal with another car, dirty air, whatever. You know, just the sight of another car in front of him. And I could tell now he's just really pushing hard, trying to get around Patton. And he's just starting to maybe crack a little bit.
I mean, a huge part of it is just the mental game, you know. You knew that earlier on in the race you were way faster than this guy, and now you can't even get around him. I mean, just mentally, it's a really hard thing to grasp with. I mean, I've experienced it myself where I had great speed early on. I ended up making a bad pit call, got put back in the field, and just because of how difficult it is to make passes, I almost psych myself out, right? And I think that's happening a lot with these guys, where at least in Ethan's position, he was so fast earlier on in the race that it's kind of difficult for him to understand that he needs to be a little bit more patient, and he isn't going to get that spot back quite as easily. It's a very easy thing to fall victim to, and I think that's what we're seeing right now. We got a bit of a reset coming up in 12 laps with pit stops. Down through turns 1 and 2. Lane still rolling the bottom, trying to get that spot back on Patton. Now here comes the 51, and Wetmore going to dive it down onto the dogleg. Going to try and get 2 spots in one here, all the way next to that inside wall. Really cutting that track limits. You're going to see Wetmore, that advantage that fresh tires have, just rolling it through 1 and 2. Back down the inside of Patton. That might compromise his entry into turn number 1 here. Patton going to have to go out wide. Lane going to have to go down the inside.
Wetmore's on quick. Fresh tires, sorry, and he's got that thing rolling.
Yeah, he's going to be flying through the field. And also keep in mind, Justin Trombley, about 19 seconds back of your race leader. He's not making up as much time as I thought he would, though. So if these pit stops come in about 10 laps, maybe it won't be such a runaway victory for Trombley like I thought. We'll see.
The gap between Ethan Lane and Brad Patton has increased to about half a second, not just a hair under it. I think that's a pretty good sign that Lane has burnt up whatever good he had left in those tires.
Yeah, I mean, these 2 cars, they were very good. I think Lane's car is pretty good on the long runs, but Patton's car is just a little bit better. And now we're seeing Lane under pressure from some of the fresh tire cars getting around him, like Alvarez. That might be a signal to him that it's time to bring it down into the pit lane. Maybe try and undercut Patton along with Trombley. Might as well take a gamble, right? Trombley has cut that gap down to the leaders by about another second. It's down to 18 seconds. He's just got to be careful not to use up his stuff too much. We are still, by the time these leaders come into the pit lane, going to have 50 laps to go. So you got to play the long game here. You can't get too aggressive. I think Phoenix is really one of those tracks where going fast and keeping the tires on are very rarely go hand in hand. A lot of times you just kind of, you got to make a choice, you know. Do you want to be in it for the long runs? Because they're going to go 4 wide going down into turn number 3. Looked 4 wide for a minute. They are back down to 3 wide. That 42 car all the way down on the apron. Race leader Brad Patton just holding on. But like I was saying, Phoenix is one of those tracks where you kind of got to make a trade-off. Do you want to be fast early in the run, or do you want to be fast later? It's not like some of those tracks. These lap cars, by the way, have opened up the door for Ethan Lane to start making some inroads back on your race leader. But at the moment, he is in a pretty compromised position as well. So for the most part, I think these guys just trying to get to those green flag stops to get back to being as the fastest cars on the track. But I mean, Isaac, if you're in one of these positions, either in Patton's or Lane's, I mean, what do you decide to do here?
Lane's looking on his inside.
Side by side for the lead once again. Lane down the inside is going to slide back. Brad Patton holding on to the lead. Lane might be getting a second wind here as they get closer to those green flag pit stops. But like I was saying, if you're in one of these positions, and
if you're Ethan Lane, I'd actually honestly try and go for an undercut on Brad Patton here. I think that would be the only foreseeable way, because if you guys pit at the same time, well, it's quid pro quo again, and you're kind of stuck in that same spot. If you're Brad Patton, however, again, the same idea would apply. You would try and undercut Lane, but when to pull the trigger on that pit stop is going to be key and crucial, depending on who's who.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is about your race leaders right now, I mean, it's just, you can't really, I gotta think about how I want to phrase this, but unless you're in that second place car, you can't really pull an undercut without compromising yourself too much. Because if you're in that second place car, just pick a time to pit, and if the guy in front of you pits before that, react. And if he doesn't, then you just, congratulations, you got the lead. But if you're the race leader, you gotta make sure that you don't pit too early, because you could end up in a situation where the second place car just ends up dragging that race lead out for another, 10, 20 laps, and you ended up just putting yourself, in a bad spot. So it's just kind of difficult for how you want to play this strategy when you're in a situation where you don't really know when the other guy's going to come into the pit lane. Update on Justin Trombley, by the way. The gap now for him is down to 14 seconds. So when these guys on the two-stop strategy, that is going to be when Trombley gets back to the lead. But his tires are going to be worn enough, might not give him a benefit. We'll have to see how it plays out. I do apologize.
McCoy is pitting this time.
And that might be one of the first drivers on the two-stop strategy to come back in. I do apologize if the stream quality is a little bit low. There is nothing I can do about that. That's just all down to my internet. So I'm doing my best, obviously, but there isn't really much I can do about a low stream quality because that is down to internet connections. If I throughput from the session, however, okay, that might be a little bit of a different story. But like you said, Brent McCoy bringing it down into the pit lane. I believe he was one of the drivers on that two-stop strategy. Right side's up for Brent McCoy. I'm guessing it's going to be a 4-tire stop for that 29 car. Might be worth it to try 2 tires, though. Brad Patton and Ethan Lane. And here comes Patton down into the pit lane along with Ethan Lane. Your leaders coming in on lap 100. Lane going in a little bit hot. They're going to be side by side. And all of this is going to let that 34 car, Justin Trombley, take away the race lead.
Now, this was a situation I had in the back of my head, but didn't really want to say because I didn't know if it was going to happen or not. And, well, I probably should have said it because, wow, that's amazing. Both of your leaders pitted at the exact same time here. So it's really going to be a battle of who gets out first and who has the better stop.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't entirely surprise me if when Ethan Lane saw Patton coming in, he just decided to make that turn onto the pit lane. Ooh. Ethan Lane, they're going to be side by side coming off pit road, but Lane gets the jump just barely over Patton. They are going to be dead even. Lane cutting the dog leg, though. That's going to give him just a little bit of an advantage. Every 10th counts in a race like this, though. Justin Trombley has now inherited the lead. The gap between your two stoppers and your one stoppers going to be 22 seconds. So they've got to make up a second a lap for 22 consecutive laps. It's not entirely out of the picture, but it's definitely going to be difficult. You also have to consider that, I mean, Trombley isn't necessarily guaranteed to make it on fuel. We'll see, though. Now we just gotta wait and see. Ethan Lane, the fastest car. Ethan Lane is going to be the fastest car on track pretty soon. I think pretty soon. Some of these one-stoppers might decide to give it up and come down pit road if the tires are feeling bad enough. But if you're Justin Trombley, you just gotta play it out until the end. You gotta see how it turns out. You can't bail on it now. It's gonna be a race-winning move or a race-losing move for the 34 car. And also you have to consider that if a late race caution
coming in this time by, sorry. Colton Lane, sorry, I'm just calling out people who are coming down.
All right, 10-4. Colton Lane not really in the lead battle, so not really going to play a factor in this. He was in third, although he was definitely not third quickest. So the 49 car brings it in along with Cody Smith. Tom Wetmore stays out along with Eric Crow. So a lot of the two stoppers who were staying out a little bit longer than Lane and Patton going to be bringing it in now. Gap between Lane and your race leader, 18 seconds. It's coming down quickly, but is it going to be quickly enough? Keep in mind as well, Ethan Lane has a little bit of damage to that front end. Might be impacting engine performance just a little bit. Hopefully it's not, though, because we are setting up for a very exciting sprint to the finish. And also, Alec Daffin actually in the fight for the lead as well. About 1.5 seconds between him and your race leader, Trombley. Although I do believe he is falling off the pace just a little bit.
I think he's one of those guys trying to stretch out fuel, but yeah, good run for him so far today.
Yeah, so it's going to be Lane and Patton, the fastest cars on track. They are still eating away at Trombley's lead. They're getting closer and closer, but keep in mind that after a couple of laps, these tires start to even out just a little bit.
Eric Crow is coming down this time by. He's currently P4.
So more of the two stoppers coming in. Eric Crow in that 07 machine brings it down pit road. That's also going to kind of clear the way for the two stoppers who are currently charging through the field. They're going to work their way up into the top 10 this time by. Ethan Lane up to 7th, working his way around the lap machine of Jacob Fife. Those two have very similar paint schemes. Through turns 1 and 2, Chris Ryan going to bring her machine down into the pit lane. Ethan Lane up into 5th. 16 seconds between him and your race leader. Brad Patton falling back, clear into 3rd. Or sorry, well, it's 5th on track, but going to be 3rd after everything cycles through. Alec Daffin calls it quits, brings it in from 2nd. Ethan Lane to 4th. Alvarez and Wetmore both on the... Actually, Alvarez and Wetmore are on the one-stop strategy. So they're both going to stay out until the end of the race unless they bail on their strategy now, which would be a huge surprise to me. Lane going to get to the outside of Alvarez this time by. Only a few more cars until he's clear of this slow traffic. Under 50 to go from Phoenix.
Alec Daffin's just now coming out of the pits. He's currently P7, so that's actually still not that... Oh, 11th now, sorry. But, hey, he's still not doing too bad. He can still easily squeak out a top 10 finish here today at Phoenix.
Well, it is now going to be 16, so Alec Daffin going to have a little bit of fighting to do if he wants to get inside that top 15. Still Trombley leading, still Wetmore 2nd. Ethan Lane has been promoted to 3rd with a 14-second gap to your race leader.
My relative is lagging then.
I mean, really, at this point, we've talked about it a little bit before, but you're almost fighting an invisible enemy. Because you've got to try and make up as much time as you can on a car that you know is out there, but you cannot see out your front windshield. And it is one of the hardest things to do, because you don't really have anything to judge your pace off of. There's no visual indicator that you're getting closer. The only thing that you can see is a little number that's getting smaller and smaller in your relative box. Well, that is if you're doing it right. If you're not doing it right...
Unfortunately, Tom Wetmore has just jinxed the race. He just commented about how the race has gone caution-free, so sorry to interrupt you there, Jonathan, but I think we can throw out the entire fuel strategy now.
Well, he is going to need... I mean, he's going to need that caution to bail him out because he is in striking distance of Ethan Lane. Really, the only driver who is on this one-stop strategy that might make it work is Justin Trombley. Keep in mind, before he pitted, he was running around 6th or 7th, so if he finishes higher than that, then this strategy has worked out quite well for him. Lane sideways off turn 4. 12 seconds between him and the leader. The gap's starting to even out between their lap times. But he's still got to keep pushing. Down the inside on Wetmore. Ethan Lane going to make that pass up into P2. Only one car now separating him and Trombley. Actually, a few more than just one car. But that gap's still coming down. Update as well on Brad Patton, just a little bit of the ways back in P4. Also in a position to get this race win if he can get around Ethan Lane. They're going to go 3 wide here down the dogleg, headed for turn 3. Alvarez, I believe, oh, actually, that's not Alvarez. That's Eric Crow. Contact! Patton up the track. Patton just did not give Crow enough room on the inside. Ended up turning down on him and pushed himself up the track. Gap between your race leaders, 11 seconds.
Brad Patton not happy over radio communications.
I don't see how that's Crow's fault there. You got to give him a little bit of room on the inside.
Well, to be completely honest, I didn't hear entirely what he said, but I just heard the tone did not sound particularly joyful, so I kind of inferred on what was being communicated there.
And Ethan Lane pushing quite a bit right now. You saw him shift down into 3rd gear, trying to get all the rotation he can on exit. The gap between the top 2 still shrinking. 10.3 seconds now between your top 2. Down through turns 1 and 2. Sorry, 3 and 4. Sorry, I'm used to that in real life being 1 and 2, but here on the iRacing Simulator, that is still turns 3 and 4. Bit of an older scan here at Phoenix. Last time by, the gap of the line going to be about 0.4 of a second, so if he keeps that pace up, there's going to be enough time for Trombley to run down Lane. For Lane to run down Trombley. But is it going to be too little too late? He's still not in a position where he can see him out of that front windshield. Eric Crow on fresher tires, trying to get his lap back. Side by side off turn number 4. Like I said, though, Lane's just kind of got to commit to this strategy along with Trombley. They're both in a position where all they can do now is hope that their strategy is the right one. And right now, Lane going to get held up by lap traffic. Back to turn 3. Ethan Lane rolling down low. Crow rolling up high, going to get the spot. That's going to slow Lane's progress to the front of the field, side by side off 4, back to single file. Just about 30 to go. Actually, a little bit over 30 laps remaining here in Phoenix. Lane getting closer and closer to that turn 2 wall on exit. 9 seconds between your top 2.
Now, if Lane catches Trombley, how aggressive do you think Trombley will try and defend him? Because that would also kind of throw a really unique variable, because we've always, all this time, we've been assuming that Lane is just going to catch him and just magically keep assuming that ever-increasing or ever-shrinking gap and turn it into an increasing gap. However, that won't work unless, you know, Trombley just lets him go, and I don't really see that happening.
Yeah, catching a guy and passing him is a whole different story. The thing is, when you're fighting for a race win, I mean, even if you might not be on the optimal strategy, you still gotta try and fight for it. You can't just let a guy go. As hard as it might be to hold on to that lead, you just gotta go for it. There's nothing you can really do right now. You definitely don't want to give up a race win either, because as much as old tires are gonna be a little bit difficult to hold on to, the thing about Phoenix is that it's so hard to pass that it might be possible. I don't know. We're going to have to see once he inevitably catches him. Well, it's not necessarily inevitable. The difference between their tires has gotten a little bit less.
Or we can go into a Brad Patton situation where he gets stuck behind him and just burns his tires up.
That could happen as well. You got to keep in mind that even if that car is faster, it might not necessarily be the best at passing. If you're not good at setting up a pass, and if you can't really get that run, it's going to be very difficult to get around that race leader, especially when it's for a race win. The gap between the top 2 not falling as drastically as it was before, about 0.4 of a second between them. Coming up on 30 laps remaining. On board with Ethan Lane. I mean, really, if you're Trombley right now, you just got to hope that either a caution comes out and bails you out of the spot you're in, or something happens to Ethan Lane that slows down his advance. You can see how loose he's getting off 4 as well, having to correct just a little bit for that car stepping out. He's shifting through 1 and 2, though, really trying to get that car down to the bottom. I mean, you can hear how hard he's pushing. It's almost like he's drifting it through the corners. Not entirely advised, though. He's still got a long way to go on these tires. Difference between them only 20 laps. That might not be as big of a difference as he might assume it is. Just kind of that same thing where you were so much faster earlier in the race that you would assume that it would be a lot easier to get that spot back. But now that it's proving to be a little bit more difficult, you kind of start to psych yourself out. On board with Trombley as well. You can hear that Ford Mustang engine. Just a little bit different than that Chevy. One of the nice touches. I believe he might also be getting it down at a 3rd. Actually, no, looks like he's staying in 4th, just trying to save those rear tires. I mean, you can see, just even on the steering inputs, which aren't entirely accurate in the replay, but, I mean, you can just see Trombley is not having to correct the car at all. He's being very methodical on the wheel. And compare that to Ethan Lane, who was sawing on that wheel, really trying to save that race car on exit. Pushing really hard to run down your leader. You can see he had to correct it back right, and Trombley just staying smooth. Maybe a little bit of correction off too. For the most part, just keeping it stable. He's going to have some lap traffic to deal with now, though. And a caution! Caution on track. One car stopped on the front straightaway. It's the 79 of Christopher Daniel. And this is going to change everything.
Remember what I said about there being almost 100% chance of being a late race caution?
Yep.
Well, here, read it and weep.
Justin Trombley bailed out. Ethan Lane gonna have to fight for position, and everything about this race gets turned on its head. Let's take a look at a replay of what brought out our first yellow flag of the night.
Also, Jonathan's Discord stream ended. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to save my network because the stream is being a little bit laggy right now. I mean, there's nothing I can really do about it, so.
Well, I could just like go back and watch it. I was kind of on track. I kind of saw it happen, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Daniel just gets loose off turn 4, keeps it on the inside wall and overcorrects it. Nothing really he could do. With how slippery this car gets on old tires, I can't even blame him for it, you know. Obviously, it wasn't intentional. Obviously, no malintent there, but I mean, the car just got loose on him. Nothing he really could do. Great job keeping it out of the wall, though. Just a little bit of contact to the rear and front end. Definitely not as bad as it could have been, but did end up getting stopped on the front straightaway, so the caution is out. That's going to bring the field, I'm guessing it's going to bring the field down into the pit lane. Wonder if anyone's going to try and take 2 tires, although after that long run, I kind of doubt it. First off pit road, going to be Justin Trombley, Ethan Lane in second, everyone taking 4 tires and fuel. Going to try and make it to the end of the race. Top 3 going to be Trombley, Lane, and Brad Patton, with Todd Thomas actually staying out on track. I believe that might just be to pick up the lucky dog, because I don't think he is going to be able to stay out for that long. You might dive it in this time by. But Justin Trombley gonna line back up as your race leader. We are gonna have a choose cone this time by, which, by the way, I have forgot to set a camera up for. So let's go ahead and move this camera over to the line. These drivers will be choosing on 2 to green. They get to pick whether they restart on the inside or the outside lane. I'm sure you're all familiar with the choose cone after we've used it for these first couple of weeks.
Notice how every race with a choose cone only has like 1 caution? 1 or 2?
Yeah, that is true. It is a little bit funny how that ends up working out. But Isaac, if you're the race leader here, I mean, what do you think are going to be the different advantages to either taking the high side or taking the inside on this restart?
Well, high side is definitely going to be the run coming out of the corner, trying defending. But I almost think 9 out of 10 scenarios here at Phoenix, it's going to be the inside line that will prevail and will have the larger advantage, especially on this restart where everyone's kind of going back in there with fresh, cold tires, cold brakes. Super easy to overestimate the outside, run off line, go up to the wall, even get into the wall. So the inside line is always just going to be the safer bet here.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that you just have to consider is that outside line, as much as it might not get a great initial start, you kind of get a better if you're on the inside, because of the way that the seats on this car are. They're obviously over to the left. It's harder to see a car to your outside than it is a car to your inside. So because of that, the outside line does have a little bit of an advantage as we come back to green here, at least on the initial jump. So, Justin Trombley.
They're talking about extending the caution.
It might
field isn't warmed up. Yeah, not going. Oh, they're going anyway.
No, we're not going, guys. We're not going. We're not going.
Oh, no.
Caution's back out. Everyone has to stack back up. I didn't actually see them choosing, but I'm guessing that Trombley took the outside line.
Yeah, I saw it. Half the field wasn't lined up, and they extended the caution literally right when they went green.
So I'm guessing all the choosings stay the same.
I'd hope.
Yeah, that might mess some things up. I have tried to make an adjustment with the stream settings to try and improve the quality, but it didn't work. So blame the internet. Nothing I can really do about it right now. Hopefully the audio is still coming through. We can get a bit of a radio style broadcast. We will be restarting next time by. Justin Trombley going to be your race leader from the outside line. The majority of the field picks the inside, almost single file back there. That brand new iRacing sedan pace car going to take the left turn onto the pit lane. Trombley from the outside going to lead the field back to green. Here we go. Green flag is back out. We're back racing in Phoenix. Trombley down and away. For second, Ethan Lane gets a bad start. Brent McCoy trying to get to his outside through turns 1 and 2. Lane holding on to the inside. They're 3 wide. One car spinning in the middle. They're wrecking.
Big wreck.
Off turn 2, they're piling into the outside wall. A couple of cars backwards. No caution just yet. I believe that it was all off the track, so they might keep it green here.
The black flag clears all around. I guess, caution.
And there it is. So the caution out. And I do believe it was the 88 of Michael Dewell who got spun sideways in 1 and 2. Everyone scrambled to avoid him, and that is what brought out the caution. Take a look at a replay.
Classic case of caution breed caution.
Yeah, I mean, everyone just going to be aggressive on the restart. Only 25 to go, and in the end, they just come together going through turn 1 and 2. Let's take a look at this. It actually started quite a bit in front of Dewell. Look up the field. Maybe around that 24 car of Christopher Schetzler. Let's try and get a good vantage point of it. Looks like Schetzler just gets loose through turns 1 and 2. Spins down in front of, I believe that's the 48 of Daffin. They all go wrecking. And that is what brings out our second caution of the day. Actually, might have been the 83 car. I can't really tell who that was. But there was one other car spinning on the inside. Oh, and I can't confirm now, that was actually the 18 of Cody Smith. So he was having a great run earlier on, but unfortunately gets spun around on the restart. And that is going to end a very promising day for Cody Smith backwards in turns 1 and 2. You see they're all just piling up, going through 1 and 2. Schetzler comes down into Smith. They make contact, and that's what sends the 18 car around. So back live, couple of the drivers coming down out of the pit lane. For the most part, everyone's staying out on track. I don't think we're choosing this time by, but just in case, we'll go and switch it over to our cone cam. So you takes the inside. Like I said, they might not be choosing this time, considering the field did just come into the pit lane. Everyone's staying single file. So at the moment, in terms of tire sets, I believe these drivers still, for the most part, have either 1 or 2 sets left in the pits. I think the drivers who are on a 2-stop strategy are going to have 1 set left. The drivers on a 1-stop are going to have 2 sets left. Pace car going to come through 3 and 4 this time by. You might be choosing. Isaac, any words from the admins as to if we are choosing this time?
We are choosing this time, as a matter of fact.
Boy.
I'm going to try and get up here and get a good, So we got Trombley outside.
Lane inside, inside, outside. For the most part, everyone takes inside, except for a few takers up high.
McCoy inside, Wetmore outside.
It surprises me a little bit because I would think that the outside line would be a little bit more popular at a track like Phoenix, but no, the field takes the inside. That is going to benefit Eric Crow quite a bit, who was quite a ways back in the field. He's going to find himself lining up in 5th. But a very inside-heavy restart. Justin Trombley going to take off from your race lead here at Phoenix.
Alright, well, I'm going to tag the back of the field here between Caitlin Height and Brad Patton, because I feel like those two would be a very fun couple of cars to watch come through this pretty stout field here, coming to the green, and also I also want to be pretty eagle-eyed for a wreck again.
So here we go, pace car is off, 19 laps to go in the desert, green flag is out, Trombley leads them off turn 4, we are back underway here at Phoenix following our second caution of the night, down towards turn number 1, Lane covers off the high side, off of Tom Wetmore, they're diving as they go into turn number 1, maybe a little bit of contact in the back, but Justin Trombley gets out and away off turn number 2. 3 wide in the back, down the back straightaway. Wetmore sends it low. Lane on the back bumper of Trombley, coming up on 18 to go this time by single file as they go to turn 3. Crow searching up high on the outside of Jacob Fife. They're gaggled up in the back. Here comes Lane on Trombley. Battle for the lead heating up now with 17 laps remaining. Crow loose off turn 2, blocking low. Down the back straightaway, that's 4, not turn 2. 3 wide going into turn number 1. Back to 2 wide. Now Colton Lanes still trying to find his way back up the inside of Eric Crow. Bit of a mixed up field at the front. Still side by side, or looking side by side for the race lead between Lane and Trombley. Isaac, over to you.
We about wrecked. We were 4 wide coming out of the D-shaped oval here on the back straightaway going into turn 3. Everyone kept it pretty straight, and I think the epicenter of that was, it might not have been, but I think it was Brad Patton. No, we're still trying to wreck back here. That was Michael Dewell that time coming off 4.
Ethan Lane still fighting hard for the race lead, getting loose off turn number 2. Down the back straightaway, headed for turn number 3 with 16 laps remaining at the stripe. Ethan Lane getting closer to the bumper of Justin Trombley. Not going to make it work then.
In 3, he parked it on the apron. Caution's out.
Spinning in turn 3.
42 car of Kevin Winker.
And Winker going to go around, brings out our 3rd caution of the night. So once again, cautions breeding cautions. With 16 laps remaining, we get our 3rd. We'll take a look at a replay of what happened. Oh, that is bizarre. Looks to me like Kevin Winker just gets loose coming out of the dogleg, maybe on that transition. Slams it into the inside wall, but gets it back rolling. So I'm a little bit surprised that that was a caution. Pretty hard hit, though. So I can't understand the reasoning behind it. We'll see if anyone dives it in this time by. They're formed up behind the pace car. Top 4 staying out. No takers out of the top 5 or the top 10 in general. So it's looking like these drivers not really valuing fresh tires. They're all going to stay out.
Going to be just over 10 to go here when we go back green.
Yeah, it's getting dicey here at the end of it. We ran over 100 laps green, but just at the end, it all started to fall apart. Lots of cautions and a lot of good racing for the lead. It's going to be very close between these top 2. Going to try a few different things with the bit right here and try and get the stream quality a little bit higher. Don't want to, gonna try and stop losing so many frames, but like I said, there is, as far as I'm aware, there is not much I can actually do about that, so, just know I am trying my best. They are not going to be choosing this time by. We will choose with 2 laps to green. Lights are still on the pace car. Well, Isaac, we're going to have just over 10 laps to go, like you said, on this restart. What do you think are going to be the keys to the race now that you know we're going to have such a short run to?
I think this is where gloves are off. It's time for a melee short track brawl, but on kind of a shorter track, not a short track, but you know, it's I mean, we all know what will happen here. We all know what the ramifications are for a late race restart at a track like Phoenix with this caliber of driver. So I think we just got to sit back and watch what happens unfold.
I think spreading out of the back straightaway is going to be a big thing as well. I mean, guys are going to try and use all the room they can down on the dogleg. Things might get a little bit crazy. I do think we're choosing this time by.
We are.
Trombley sticking with his pick up top. Lane down low, so that order stays the same. For the most part, everyone going down low. Almost a little bit of contact at the choose cone. Not much of a cone, just kind of a choose. A choose area, we'll call it that. So
the choose region.
Yes, the drivers are now entering the choose region.
The choose zone.
The thing that I'm wondering now is with Ethan Lane running in second, I have a feeling that he might be getting a little bit better at reacting to that outside lane's restart. Just maybe. So going back green this time by, Justin Trombley trying to hold on for the lead. And here we go. Pace car going to dive it into the pit lane. Justin Trombley as your leader. He's going to stack him up and lights him up. Green flag is back out. Lane, better start on the inside. Is going to be able to cover off Wetmore on the high side. Yes, he is. Just like last restart. They're all diving towards turn 1, 3 wide in the back. Tarabuck down the inside of Alvarez. They're going to get it back down to 2 wide. Now down the back straightaway. Lane all over the bumper of Trombley as they go into turn number 3. Trombley up top. Here comes Lane down low. A little bit of contact, maybe? No, not yet. No bumpers being used just yet. Coming around to 11 laps remaining here in Phoenix. Off turn 4, down the front straightaway. Lane getting closer and closer to that rear bumper.
One.
Caution is out again.
To the outside wall. That was Glamiro Alvarez.
We saw him involved in a 3 wide earlier. He gets turned into the outside wall now. Brings out our 4th caution of the night. So more trouble for these drivers. That is going to mean Trombley is going to have to survive another late race restart. And it seems like every time we get one of these restarts, Lane just keeps getting a better and better start. So let's take a look at a replay.
Sounds like Ethan Lane was point of contention in there.
Oh! It looks like Froelich tried to go down the inside on Alvarez and sent him up towards the outside wall. Alvarez saved it once again, so I'm still not quite sure why that was a caution. But he was sliding on track. He ended up saving it, kept it out of the wall, so no damage to the 83 car. But the caution is out.
I guess someone was mad about Ethan.
Not sure what happened with him.
I don't know. I just heard somebody mad at him.
So, currently working our 4th caution of the night here at the Phoenix International Raceway. We went green for the first about 120 laps. And then after that, we've seen a lot of cautions and a lot of late race restarts. We are going to go back green with just, I think, just over 5 laps to go. And like I said, I do apologize for the stream. Like I said, there is just absolutely nothing I can do about that. I haven't had any issues with it in the past, but it does flare up every now and again, so hopefully the audio is still fine. I am just going to try one more time, but we will be right back. Just going to cut away for just one moment. And we're back live here at the Phoenix International Raceway. I tried a couple of settings. I don't think any of them are going to work. So, unfortunately, things are going to be a little bit choppy from here to the end of the race. But like I said, I think the audio should still be fine. So I do believe we are coming to the choose gun this time by. I am guessing that Justin Trombley going to take the outside once again. Coming to the start-finish line. Trombley showing that he wants that high line. Lane picking low. The field gridding up behind him. I think everyone's realizing that high line is a little bit more handy than they thought it might be. So your top 4 are going to line up as such. Trombley, your leader. Lane second. McCoy third. And Tom Wetmore in 4th. But put Wetmore on the inside and McCoy on the outside. Your race leader Trombley picks the outside. Lane on the inside. We'll see how they can react to it. Coming to the green. We're going to have 6 laps remaining. We might go green to the end if we get lucky. So the pace car going to make that left turn into the pit lane. 6 laps remaining here at Phoenix once we get back green. As a reminder, we did spend the first 120 laps under green with Ethan Lane absolutely dominating before Trombley eventually got around him through pit cycles. We line up with 6 to go. Here we go. Pace car is off. Green flag is back out there, stacking up behind the leaders, but we are back racing. Everyone scrambling to avoid the checkup. Down towards turn number 1, Ethan Lane in a second. It all started when I believe Trombley just went a little bit later than expected, stacked everyone up behind him, but we're back green at Phoenix. Once again, Ethan Lane trying to put pressure on your race leader going into turn number 3. They're scrambling behind as they get down towards turns 3 and 4. 3, 4 wide, heading into turns 3 and 4 behind. Here comes Ethan Lane. 5 laps to go at the stripe. Jacob Fife all the way down to the apron. Crowding back up the track. They're wrecking behind the 94 cars around.
Oh, man.
Caution is back out. Alan Rowell gets turned off turn number 4. 5th caution of the night is out. Your leaders line up the same.
Overtime?
Not just yet. I think we're going to have a natural green-white checkered. We'll take a look at a replay. Coming through turns 3 and 4, I mean, it all started when that restart was pretty messy, but coming through turns 3 and 4, Rowell goes up the track. I think we're going to see Heischman coming strong on the outside. And it looks like he just cut down the track a little bit. Schetzler wasn't expecting it, got into his left rear, and spins him around off turn number 4. Good job by Rowell, though, to lock it up, stay out of the inside wall. We'll go ahead and back it up once again. You're just going to see right here, Schetzler gets down to the inside. Rowell just cuts down the track a little bit more than Schetzler expected. And they come together off turn number 4. So back live, Justin Trombley has held on to the lead. We're going to have, I believe, you are right actually, that we are going to have a green-white checkered restart. So, it's going to be a shootout in the desert to finish this one off. Working lap 154. Although this race is likely going to be extended because of this late race caution. It started out as a clean race and turned into a slugfest. But in the end, I think we're going to get these last few laps hopefully under green. I have a feeling they are going to be able to make it one lap around the track without a wreck. 3 attempts at a green-white checkered. I'm going to assume that last one is at point of no return, but if it's not, if a caution comes out, of course, that will end the race. Don't believe we are, just in case we are. I'm going to pull up the choose cam, or the cone cam, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, lights remain on the pace car. So we are not choosing yet. It is going to be a green-white checkered restart here at Phoenix. Although I do believe we are choosing this time by. I don't have great intuit for it, though. I've messed it up the past couple of times I've predicted it. Pace car rounding turns 3 and 4. We are going to choose this time by. Just going to make a prediction here. I'm guessing Trombley is going to go up high. Lane going to go down low. We'll have to see, though. Never know when someone's going to try and mix it up just a little bit. I do think that Trombley is enjoying that launch he gets off the high side. He's looking high at the moment. He's not going to fake last minute. So your top 2 go high and low respectively. Behind them, that's going to be Wetmore lining up on the inside, McCoy lining up on the outside. Last time we saw Trombley play a little bit of a game with the field, going a little bit later than anticipated. Is he going to go earlier this time by? A lot of these restarts are just kind of mental games, trying to kind of psych out everyone else. You don't want to go when they expect you to go, because that's when you're going to have a lot of pressure going through 1 and 2. Then you also have to consider that if it comes down to it, will Ethan Lane use the bumper to try and get Trombley out of the way? It's not out of the question. So here we go. It'll be a duel in the desert to decide the finish of race 5. Trombley, your leader, Lane in second.
Word just in from race control, Don will not be throwing a caution if there's a wreck.
Green flag is back out. Good jump by Trombley, good jump by Lane, same as last time. Lane, though, not able to jump up this time. So Lane gonna have a compromised entry into turn number 1. McCoy fighting strong on the outside of Wetmore. Down the back straightaway, they're side by side to third. No cautions, we are going to race it back. Heading through turns 3 and 4 for the second to last time tonight. Lane rolling the middle, Trombley trying to hold on. White flag in the air, 1 lap remaining. They're wrecking behind. They keep it straight. They're scrambling into turn number 1. White flag is out. 1 lap to go. Will Lane use the bumper? He's close enough to the back bumper of Trombley that he could if he decided to. Down to turn 3. Lane sails it in. Bumper to the back of the 34. There's contact. Trombley up the track.
It's not going to be enough.
Race back to the line, Justin Trombley. Gonna hold on for his second win of the season. They're wrecking behind. Up and over goes the 98 of Jody Banfield. But at the line, Justin Trombley gets it over Ethan Lane by 0.2 of a second. They're crashing behind. Massive wreck on the front straightaway. And that will settle it. Justin Trombley, your race winner from Phoenix.
Man. That was drawn out.
Yeah, I mean, after seeing those first, 200, I think it was something like 130 laps green, I definitely wasn't expecting that to finish the race. But Trombley going to pull into the pit lane, and that's going to do it for Phoenix. There's Alvarez slamming into the barrels. Because why not? We'll go and get a replay of that last lap incident before we get you the post-race interviews. I think Banfield just might have gotten tagged off turn number 4. No, he actually just got loose. So Banfield gets loose, slams the inside wall, piles into Chris Ryan, along with Alvarez. And they just start wrecking to the line. Most of it was after the line, though, so I doubt it affected the finishing order. But take a look at that. Banfield goes up and over, down the front straightaway, wrecking into the catch fence. Not something you see very often at Phoenix. But a violent crash past the start-finish line is going to end this one. Justin Trombley, though, able to walk away with the victory. And now we are going to try and pull him up into the booth for post-race interviews. And as usual, we will start out with your race leader. Or race winner, sorry. Justin's shot at the notes of the TMG broadcast booth. You got us?
What you been?
Well, man, for the most part, you looked all day like you had a really good long-run car. You tried to play the strategy there by staying out longer than everyone else. And it looked for a while like you might have been able to hold on if that race went green to the end. What was the thought process behind that strategy?
Well, the strategy kind of backfired because I was staying out to win the second stage, and I actually pushed too hard and ended up being a lap short on gas, so I wasn't going to get anything out of it, so I felt pretty stupid. But I don't know, I got way lucky. I almost feel bad for winning because Ethan deserved to win, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and speaking of, I mean, kind of how that race ended, we saw a lot of late race restarts, even a green-white checkered. Going into 3 and 4 there on that last lap. Or really, what were you thinking throughout that entire green-white checkered in that battle with Ethan?
He's always way better. Like, I'm terrible on the short run, and like the whole field's faster than I am on a short run. So I knew I was kind of screwed. So I expected him to kind of move me, but I just held the wheel straight. Whatever happened, happened. But I appreciate him for running me clean. It was fun. I wish it just stayed green the whole race. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened.
Yeah, I mean, and if it had stayed green that whole race, it was looking like you were going for a one-stop strategy if you were going to be able to stretch it. But do you think, had that race gone green, do you think you still would have been able to come away with a win?
I really don't know. I was right before the caution. I finally looked at where second place was, and I saw he was like 7.5 seconds back or something like that. I don't know what would have happened with the tires if they would have kind of evened out a little bit to like a tenth or so, and then maybe I could have got it done. But I don't know. I wish we could have found out. It would have been fun.
Yeah, and I mean, 5 races in, you got 2 wins already on the board. What do you think this means for the rest of your season and maybe your championship run?
Oh, it definitely helps. That's kind of why I was just going for the stage 2 win, and because I'm really racing for now is playoff points. But if I end up racing the whole year, I don't know. Sometimes I don't feel like sim racing at all. Sometimes I do. It's just I didn't even practice. I just showed up tonight and let her fly, and whatever happened to happen.
Well, either way, it was great talking to you. Congratulations on the win. We're going to go ahead and send you back.
Have a good night.
You too. That was race winner Justin Trombley giving his thoughts on the events that transpired there towards the end of the race. Next up, we are going to bring the 26 of Ethan Lane, who came up 1 spot short of his 2nd win on the season. Ethan, it's Jonathan Oates up in the TMG broadcast booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you had a pretty dominant car there throughout that first run. You seemed like you were pretty good on the short runs and the long runs pretty equally, but just around that middle point in the race, you got behind Brad Patton after your first pit stops. What were you thinking there when he started to pull away from you, especially as we got towards that second pit stop?
Not direct. Clean air is just it's so huge, especially at these 1-lane racetracks. I figured if I couldn't get around him, just to ride, and then tried to get him on the second round of pit stops, which we did.
And for the most part, it looked like had that race just been between you and Brad, you probably would have come out with a win. But in the end, with how the strategies played out, and you and Brad going on to a 2-stop with Justin going on to a 1-stop, I mean, what were you thinking there as Justin tried to stay out to make it at 1-stop strategy?
It would have been close. I think at the rate I was